Ever wonder what happens when you look past the office gossip and give someone a real shot? There's this guy at work, always smiling, always caring, who's got everyone whispering and snickering behind his back. They call him weird for doing yoga in the parking lot or chilling on his car during lunch. I mean, sure, he's quirky, but who isn't? A month ago, he landed in the cubicle next to mine, and I was tasked with showing him the ropes. Little did I know this odd guy was about to flip my world upside down in the best way possible. So, picture this. I'm sitting at my desk, still chuckling to myself about how this weird guy's got the whole office buzzing with their petty gossip, when I realize he's not just some quirky dude who's easy to write off. This new co-worker, let's call him Jake for simplicity, got assigned to my team, which meant I'd be spending a lot of time with him, showing him how to navigate the chaos of our daily grind. From day one, I noticed Jake was different, not in a bad way, but in a way that made you pause. He'd greet everyone with this genuine ear-to-ear grin, like he was thrilled just to be there, even when people barely nodded back. I'd catch him asking thoughtful questions about the work, not just going through the motions, and he'd always check in on how I was doing, which honestly, nobody else bothered with. As we worked side by side, I started picking up on the stuff that made him the office punchline. Jake was all about staying active, physically and mentally. During lunch breaks, while most of us were scarfing down sandwiches or scrolling on our phones, he'd be out in the parking lot striking yoga poses like it was the most natural thing in the world. If he was wiped out, he'd lean against his car, not in it, mind you, just soaking up the sun, eyes closed, like he was recharging his soul. Yeah, it raised eyebrows. I overheard snarky comments from co-workers, stuff like, "Who does yoga in a parking lot?" or "What's with this guy?" Even worse, I cringed when I heard the department head make a jab about Jake's hippie vibes while he was right there, within earshot. It stung to see that because Jake never clapped back or got defensive. He just kept being his upbeat self, like their words couldn't touch him. The more I got to know him, the more I saw how unfair it all was. Jake wasn't hurting anyone. If anything, he was prioritizing his health, mental and physical, in a way I secretly envied. Here I was, lugging around extra weight, feeling sluggish half the time, while he seemed to have this endless energy. It hit me that maybe the problem wasn't Jake being weird. Maybe it was everyone else being too quick to judge someone who didn't fit their mold. I'd been around him enough to see he wasn't just some oddball. He was kind, attentive, and genuinely invested in doing good work. Teaching him the job wasn't a chore, it was actually fun, because he soaked up every detail like it mattered. That's when I started thinking, what if I stopped listening to the office chatter and leaned into this connection? What if Jake's way of living, unapologetic and full of purpose, was something I could learn from? I had no clue then that saying yes to that question would set me on a path I never saw coming. Jake's relentless positivity and the way he shrugged off the office shade started getting under my skin. Not in a bad way, but like a wake-up call. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was part of the problem, just standing by while people dunked on him for being himself. The guy was out there doing sun salutations in the parking lot, radiating this quiet confidence, while I was stuck in my chair, feeling every one of the extra pounds I'd packed on over the years. It wasn't just about Jake, though. I was tired of my own excuses, always saying I'd start tomorrow when it came to getting in shape. Seeing him catch flack for prioritizing his health made me realize how dumb it was to let other people's opinions hold me back. If Jake could tune out the noise, why couldn't I? That's when the real conflict kicked in. Not some office drama, but a tug of war inside me. Part of me wanted to keep my head down, blend in with the crowd that rolled their eyes at Jake's quirks. It was easier to laugh along or stay silent than to stick my neck out. But another part of me was fed up. Fed up with how Jake was treated. Fed up with my own stagnation. I'd watch him breeze through the day, unfazed by the whispers, and think, man, this guy's got something figured out. My weight was dragging me down, physically and mentally. I'd get winded climbing a flight of stairs, and don't even get me started on how I avoided mirrors. Meanwhile, Jake was proof you could rewrite your story, and I was starting to wonder if I could too. So one day, I swallowed my pride and made a move. I caught up with Jake during lunch and asked, kind of sheepishly, if I could join him for a workout sometime. I half expected him to brush me off, but his face lit up like I just handed him a winning lottery ticket. He didn't just say yes, he asked what I wanted to work on, like he was already mapping out a plan. That's when I admitted I wanted to lose weight, maybe run a little, but I was clueless where to start. The kicker? I was nervous about looking like a fool, especially after how people dogged him for exercising in public. But Jake? He didn't blink. He just nodded like he got it and said, "We'll go at your pace, no judgment." That moment felt like a line in the sand. Me choosing to step towards something better, even if it meant risking a few side eyes from the office crew. I didn't know it then, but asking Jake for help wasn't just about dropping a few pounds. It was about facing down my own insecurities and betting on the one guy everyone else had written off. That moment when I asked Jake to help me work out felt like jumping off a diving board, equal parts terrifying and exhilarating. I'd been wrestling with my own doubts, tired of feeling trapped by my weight and the office's toxic vibe toward him. His quick, enthusiastic yes was like a lifeline, pulling me out of my head and into action. I had no idea what I was in for, but Jake didn't just meet me halfway. He went all in, and it became the solution I didn't know I needed. The next day, we met up during lunch in the parking lot, the same spot where people snickered at his yoga sessions. I was nervous, half expecting to crash and burn, but Jake had this calm, no-pressure energy. He started by asking what I wanted out of this, not in a preachy trainer way, but like he genuinely cared. I mumbled something about wanting to feel better, maybe run a little. Then he dropped a bombshell. He had a bachelor's and a master's in exercise science. I was floored. The guy everyone called weird was legit qualified to be a personal trainer, and here he was, ready to help me for free. We kicked things off with stretching, which sounds basic, but Jake turned it into a science lesson. He showed me how to loosen up properly, explaining why each move mattered for my joints and muscles. I felt like a clunky robot at first, but he was patient, adjusting my form with pointers like, ease into it, don't force it. Then came the running part. I warned him I hadn't run since high school gym class, but he just grinned and said, "We'll make it fun." He set me up to run a mile, promising we'd go at my pace. I was skeptical. I mean, me running. But Jake jogged beside me, chatting to keep my mind off the burn, throwing in tips like, breathe steady, don't overthink it. When I crossed that mile in under 10 minutes, I was shocked. Under 10 minutes. Sure, it's not Olympic speed, but for me it was a freaking miracle. We kept going, mixing sprints with walks to cool my heart rate until I'd covered 3.1 miles, a full 5K in segments. I didn't even think that was possible. What got me wasn't just the running, it was Jake's vibe the whole time. He wasn't some drill sergeant barking orders, he was like a hype man, cheering every step, saying stuff like, "You're killing this." When I doubted myself, he'd share how he'd been overweight his freshman year until someone pulled him into fitness. That hit home. He wasn't just coaching me, he was proof it could be done. By the end, I was sweaty, sore, and stupidly proud. Jake suggested we do it again the next Friday, calling it his recovery day, and I was already pumped to keep going. Later that night, I checked my phone and saw a message from him. A full-on custom workout plan for the next 2 weeks, complete with notes on stretches, runs, and rest days. He'd even written out goals, a half marathon short-term, a marathon long-term. I sat there staring at my screen, tearing up a little. This guy I barely knew had put in real effort, believing in me more than I believed in myself. It wasn't just about exercise anymore. It was about someone seeing potential in me and giving me a roadmap to chase it. That first run with Jake wasn't just a workout. It was a game changer. His belief in me sparked something big, pushing me to shed weight and rediscover energy I hadn't felt in years. Months later, I was tackling a 22-mile kayak trip with my wife and a 12-mile mountain hike, feeling alive in ways I'd forgotten were possible. Jake sadly left the company and moved to California to help firefighters, which stung, but I'm forever grateful for our time together. His kindness taught me to look past snap judgments and embrace people for who they are. I hope he's out there inspiring others like he did me, and I'd love for our paths to cross again someday. This journey's got me thinking. Don't underestimate the weird ones. They might just change your life. If this story hit home for you, give it a like, drop a comment with your thoughts, or share it to spread the vibe. If you're into real stories like this, hit that subscribe button for more. It means the world to keep these conversations going.